Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Analysis. I am your host, Zinthowin, dressing in attire of Dr. Stein from Soul Eater, and such appropriate, if you ask me. I want to try my hand at reviewing movies, trailers, and subjects, and all other such. And I thought to myself that there was one movie that I wanted to do for my very first review. And finally, I have found the time to do such thing. And let's face it, in my opinion, although half of the internet is in such a ruckus about whether it is a good movie or a bad movie, I am on the side of finding it as a considerably good and well done movie for modern times, and also making it feasible, as some movies are trying to go about with your favorite superhero comics, such as Green Lantern, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. I have chosen to review Man of Steel. Man of Steel was directed by Zack Snyder, who directed Dawn of the Dead for the 2004 edition, or remake, and 300, based off of the popular comic. Damn, I never looked at box office reviews, did I? Our protagonist in this story obviously would be known as Superman, named Clark Kent by his adoptive parents, and Kal-El as his true name from his home world of Krypton. Filling the red boots is Henry Cavill, who was the leading role in the 2012 The Cold Light of Day, and also, as some may know, The Immortals, back in 2011, also the leading role, and you may only know it by by that one movie that premiered on 11/11/11. Really, I heard somewhere that it was supposed to be a catastrophic day or something. Why? Lois Lane is portrayed by Amy Adams, who everybody would know is from the movie Enchanted back in 2000. Who everybody would know is from 2011. Who everybody would know is from the movie Enchanted back in 2007. Or, more recently, 2011, she was in the Muppets movie with Jason Segel and that one guy who plays Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Although, he was a puppet in that one, but still, he counts. Also, some may not know, but Amy Adams actually did play a part inside of Smallville. If you want to see the episode with Amy Adams on Smallville, look for the episode Craving, where she portrays Jody Melville. General Zod is played by Michael Shannon. I think he did an alright job with Zod. Emotion when needed. Some people think that he probably was over dramatic, but I don't know. I thought some of it was appropriate. I will find him! If you want to see some of his popular work, try checking out The Iceman and Take Shelter. Actually, I found out that Michael Shannon is even currently doing some stage work, on Broadway, I believe. At least I think I remember reading Broadway. Starting back in 1991 with his first play that he performed in was in Loving Little Egypt, and he's still actively doing stage work. His most recent play that he has been is in Sympathies, sometime this year in 2013. I want to say that he really I feel as though that he probably enjoys acting. I mean, he can be overdramatic, of course, whether necessary or not. And he's also finding time to do Broadway shows. Wow, how often can you really do that? Because, I don't know, alright, I think that if I was an actor, I'd be doing either or, because, well, I feel in question on how you'd find the work time to do stage and movies, so kudos, Michael. Now with Man of Steel, we open, obviously with every origin story, you start at the beginning, and of course with the beginning of Superman is his birth. And, well, everybody knows that his birth takes place on Krypton. However, I especially enjoy this origin story, for, you see, when they show Krypton, they don't just show a few buildings and, you know, like, a few people here and there, and then Kal-El just getting into the pod and then going off to Earth. No, they show in-depth and a few subplots, although some people think there are too many, but I think a few of the subplots are enough, and of course, leave imagination for the audience. You see Krypton, you see some of their wildlife, and this movie, this origin story, it makes you want to explore Krypton. It gives you some sense of sadness on with the destruction of the planet. Before, I didn't even know what the story was with Krypton, like on why was it exploding, or whatever other thing. Alright, as a little kid, I did watch the Superman animated series, but honestly, I don't think I ever saw the first episode. Maybe once, but like, hell, I was like a single-digit age, so obviously I didn't know what was going on. I just only knew, oh, this is happening, and then like, oh, he's gonna go fly Earth, and Superman. Yeah. Apparently, Jor-El and his wife were the only smart people to send somebody away. But no, this time they were around. They explained that it's all because, like, you know, of, like, power consumption and harvesting the core. Although, and, you know, like, in the DC animated series, they, to my knowledge, they never explained. I looked up on the DC animated wiki page, not Wikipedia, wiki, where they do more details and dedications to that subject. They didn't really give out, now what I remember reading, they didn't explain on why there was the imminent destruction of Krypton. However, it may have been inevitable no matter what, because of its planet size. Maybe they did do like a over-harvesting of natural resources. However, one question I do have about the beginning sequence in Krypton is, what we see, is that all natural light, or are we just supposed to assume that it's like sunset or whatever? Cause, like, sure, they have a red sun, so probably, yeah, they'll have a different type of lighting system than we do with our yellow sun, but really, like, is that all natural, or is it that time of day? And also, 300 cycles! Sure, they discovered new imprisonment ways, but how are you supposed to pay the time if you're in cryostasis or something? Okay, I mean, like, think of it. All right, if I were to be put in cryostasis right now, okay, sent to the Phantom Zone, and then revived in like 300 years, what would be different about me? All I would just know is just that I lost time. Oh, better not do that again. Yeah, but I didn't learn my lesson. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime? Okay, sure. But be sure to put in the time! What kind of hierarchy is that? Also, I want to know, how long is a cycle? Is that supposed to be like a year? Day? Well, obviously. Oh, okay. Then again, if you try to take over the government, I don't think you'd be punished for 300 days. So I guess more like, okay, maybe it will be 300 years, but still, who knows? Something you may notice during the movie is that when they do scene shots, they seem to do a lot of zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, or whatever. You know, like big shot. Okay, Superman, he's over here. And he gets farther and farther away. Quick zoom in! Superman's a little bit bigger. I think it's okay. Because, well, some minor problem that I've actually had in the past with, like, when I used to make a few music videos was that an entire chunk seems to be so good, yet you can't really help yourself to, like, not want to crop an image. So I think maybe they were just trying to, like, you know, have two different images, you know. Alright, I remember at one scene when Superman was, you know, learning how to fly. He goes, you know, he does a few loops and all of that. And that will be where you notice all the zoom ins and zoom outs. However, really, even though they did zoom in, it still makes another good scene. But, you know, like, of course, it kind of defeats a little bit of the cinematic purpose, but... and they did okay. The flashback scenes, I think that also got its point across. Alright, now I will admit that I did watch another reviewer's review before this, and they pointed out that it was the type of movie where they, like, you know, show origins and growing up here and there, but not in sequence. My opinion, that's okay, rather than having all of the, you know, the growing up stuff in flashbacks, because you don't feel like the movie's taking too long with the growing up. It's still taking its time, however, but you don't feel fast-paced, and it doesn't feel like it's all dragging on, okay? And, you know, and also it gives you a sense that you also get the feeling that, you know, oh, Superman's grown up, he's just... but we're getting a view, or peering into his mind on what he's thinking of. And, you know, he's just remembering past lessons or whatever. It worked out, so I have no complaints over that. One of the things that I believe one of the first things that shows that this movie is a little more realistic to real life is when Clark Kent is talking with his father about keeping his powers a secret and the bus scene. You hear the first indication of real life. The word maybe. 'Cause, alright, I probably think that if this was a DC animated movie, maybe this wouldn't have been addressed. You know, the possible direction of letting people die would not have been taken. No, actually, what probably would have just happened would have been Superman would have saved his fellow students, and then like, you know, then maybe Superman would have disappeared in the ruckus or whatever before anybody recognized anything. But then again, what do I know? So yeah, not all answers are known, because in real life, everything is not black and white. We have gray spots here and there, so really, like, okay, yeah, I have to keep my powers a secret, but I have to save my friends. So, do I use my powers and save my friends and have my secret released, or do I keep it a secret and be the only mysterious survivor? So, like, yeah, I mean, it's that, but there is a middleman. Throughout the movie, they have an excellent musical score. It feels bigger than itself and quite appropriate to Superman. I don't know about critics' joke or a theory about how Superman and The Dark Knight music sounds similar to each other, because I haven't noticed it, but I don't think I really paid attention to that much. So, like, I don't know about that, but, you know, like, I found the score vast. So they did, and, you know, like, in, you know, sound effects was also good, okay? You know, like, in, let's see, nothing, I don't recall anything sounding ridiculous at this point. Now, something that might want to be addressed is Lois Lane. Now, Amy Adams is an excellent actress. I've seen some of her work. Casting her as Lois Lane, well, I feel as though that I'm glad they didn't make her a brunette, because it's not really about what the person looks like. When making a film, you want to be sure that these people are believable, and imagery is just like a bonus. Like, I mean, come on, like, look, sometimes, like, alright, if you go on the internet, sometimes you see that some of your favorite videos to watch, or stories to watch, are poorly animated and or poorly drawn. Take South Park, for example. Their animation is so it's so simple. And design is also simplicity. Because really, I mean, like, because, like, you know, like, they're just orbs, circles, squares, when we know real humans are not that shaped. Like, we have a little more details. And yet, they've been going on for, like, I think maybe about, I think they're on the 17th or 18th season right now. We don't necessarily stick around because of their animation or because of the imagery. We stick around because of the story. And yes, maybe you wouldn't know who some of the people on the movie are unless you were told they were Lois Lane and Superman. But you know they are, so thus the characters are still believable. And let's face it, Amy Adams looks better as a redhead, okay? We don't need to dye her hair. Thank you, Zack Snyder, for keeping her a redhead. Lois Lane in The Man of Steel. Now, okay, yes, she still has the damsel in distress situation. However, it's not all that distressful. Because she's shown to be a lot stronger than people actually would know. You know, originally Lois Lane was just supposed to be, you know, a woman who's a reporter and gets into situations where she would always get in trouble and always need rescuing, or she dies. And of course, the woman interest for Superman to rescue. But this time around, when they do the damsel in distress, it's all for good reason, for progression of the story, and also to keep Lois Lane around. I'm recalling Lois Lane being rescued 3 times in the movie right now. First time she's rescued is all because of a defense system injured her, right? So, okay, and now I will say that, like, I guess logically it is, like, unrealistic of her surviving an entire night in sub-zero temperatures. Okay, sure, but, you know, we still need her, because she's, like, more or less the bridge between Superman and society. But really, of course, that's also supposed to be, like, you know, something for Lois Lane to go try to search for Superman. At the point when Superman is going to General Zod's spaceship, you know, like, okay, Lois Lane was, you know, supposed to be brought on as, like, some kind of insurance for Superman to cooperate. Okay, sure. However, when Lois Lane is escaping, the escape pod is not malfunctioning because, oh, the escape pod's a dud and it's gonna explode because of this, and Lois Lane is gonna die unless Superman saves her. No. It happened because one of the soldiers were trying to stop Lois Lane and thus prevent her from escaping or whatever, and, you know, of course, because of a dent in the escape pod malfunctions and thus endangers the escapee, i.e. Lois. That was supposed to be the ploy of bringing Lois Lane back to Earth rather than still being a possible prisoner or dead. Sure, on honest trailers, they probably said, that they didn't really need her on the plane when they were delivering the space drive to imprison all the soldiers, or all of General Zod's soldiers. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. They probably didn't need her on that plane. However, of course, with her falling off because of a pulse wave or whatever, that just keeps her alive and usable for the future and all such, rather than having everybody die. It is within good reason of having her in those situations of having her in distress and being the damsel. However, of course, she's not all helpless, like what most people think of when they come to damsel in distress. This time around, she's a lot smarter than she has been before. How often does somebody figure out the secret identity of a superhuman or superhero? Lois Lane is able to figure out who Superman is just by using her report, just by going one step and beyond further than what she needs to do her research and report and finding out the story behind Clark Kent. To my recollection, she's only known his identity 2 or 3 times ever. But that's just me, okay? Like, that, to my knowledge of Superman, alright? But as far as I know, before it was always admitted. This time, she figured it out. The only other time I knew that I've known where somebody figured out a superhero's identity is when, I think maybe it was in the comic series of Batman, where was when Bane figured out who Bruce Wayne was, or that Bruce Wayne and Batman were the same. I'm not entirely sure about the Dark Knight, but they did know that somehow too. I just don't know if there was like research done or something, or if they just knew. Pacing of the story is satisfying, okay? We get enough action, and we get enough talking, we get enough drama. I don't think it feels like it all takes place in only like 2-3 days. I don't even know how long the movie takes place, but it all works. Zod's introduction to planet Earth was, I mean, like, wow, okay, sure, alright, I do know, okay, villains do like being a little introductive and a little boastful, a little bit of pride here and there. And with this introduction of Zod, it was quite clever. I mean, okay, sure, so they have the technology of being able to take over all devices on Earth. And of course, being able to do instant translation from, like, English to whatever language you're watching it on. It brings on a creepiness. I mean, and of course, intimidation. Now, something I find most appealing of this movie, of course, is the action scenes. In other words, when Superman is going up what I would say the top 2 of General Zod's crew, and General Zod himself. General Zod has, of course, appeared in the comic series, and, of course, was in the second Superman movie. However, of course, that time around, there were only a group of 3 in that movie. And which consisted of General Zod, Fora-Ul, and a really, really big guy. I don't know his name, they don't even mention it. However, in this movie, they do pay homage to the top 3. Because they have General Zod, and Fora-Ul is the second in command, lieutenant. And although he does not have that quite of a significant individuality, the third big guy is played homage because he fights alongside with Faora in the fight scene in Smallville, even though with that and all of its many ads. I don't see a problem with the ads, by the way. I think like, okay, sure, yes, they feature Sears, Hopkins, U-Haul. To me, it was just coincidence. And also, I guess it pays a little bit of realism to saying, this could happen in your neighborhood. Well, we know it wouldn't, because, it usually happens in very out-of-the-way places or big metropolises. Now, I know I listed off our main characters at the beginning of this. However, I want to pay a little bit of a homage to okay, I don't know how to pronounce her first name. I know she's of German descent. The woman who plays Fora-Ul. Her name is Antje Traue. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but I'm some foreign names and words I'm have some trouble with. I have to say her character is done well, cause you see. Really, like, okay, you're supposed to know that these survivors of Krypton who were sent to the Phantom Zone, who are under General Zod's command, are all people who really only care about themselves, okay? Sure, yes, Zod says that he does it all for Krypton, but of course for his ideal Krypton. Lieutenant Fora, well, as a second command, you should believe that that they would be the second most powerful, if not more powerful, than the leader. With the performance that Miss Traue brought to Lieutenant Fora, you are convinced she's a cold-hearted killer. In my opinion, any warrior and who just loves combat, you're gonna be, like, awestruck by this woman's performance. Because, seriously, like, she's not taken down. She is not taken down easily, okay? And I don't know if I don't know if you can say that she really won against Superman, but I don't know. She seems like she had the upper hand. Even though she was technically cheating with the big guy, but no. I don't know, you just like her performance. That's what I can say. During the fight with Superman versus General Zod, they should have realized, yeah, they're probably going to go the way of inevitable killing. Because if General Zod has the exact same powers as Superman, there will be an inevitability of stopping him. You can't send him back to the Phantom Zone because that plan was already done, and Zod was not part of that, did not get sucked in or anything, okay? He wasn't even on the ship, so we have that problem. On my side, I believe that this time around, it was appropriate to kill off Zod, because now, I've heard that they did the same thing in the second Superman movie. I don't know what the deal was that one, because, like I said, I haven't seen the original Superman movie. This time around, it was either kill Zod and save everybody, or die and have Zod kill everybody else. He plain out said it, right? He plain out said that he would after he kills Superman. So, really, like, what were you expecting, okay? Like, I'm okay with I'm okay with Zod being killed off. Now, some people might question as to how was that possible for Superman to do? Actually, no. Actually, I should probably back up a little, okay? Now, some people are would be over-criticized about Zod being able to control his Yellow Sun powers on Earth so fast versus Superman having to do it over his childhood and growing up. Well, think about this, alright? General Zod was bred as a soldier, okay? That's his entire purpose. So, and he even says in the movie that he was trained to hone in on his perception and abilities or whatever, okay? So, that can make sense, alright? Probably Zod may have actually won if he didn't focus on killing that one family towards the end of the fight. Superman wasn't bred to be a soldier versus Zod, who had years of experience, and of course no conscience and don't care who I kill kind of deal thing, where Superman does. And of course, I guess I also want to say that, General Zod probably had more developed muscles. However, here's the thing that some people that not many people probably would know about. The thing that I believe on the reason why Superman was able to snap Zod's neck was because of the laser beams. You see, another thing that I learned from Screw Attack's Death Battle, Superman vs. Goku, was that Superman gains his powers from a yellow sun, and the more sun he absorbs, the more powerful he can be. They also addressed that using the laser beams drains Superman's powers. The bigger the blast, the more energy you're going to use, okay? Drew Zod, of course, was using his laser beam powers, or laser eyes, and we all know that madmen who driven on the idea of killing is going to be using their powers to whatever extent they want, okay? In other words, as far as we know, probably Zod was using his laser powers at full power, and thus he'll be draining most of the Yellow Sun energy that he gained over his time on Earth. Thus, of course, weakening him. So that's why I believe that Superman was able to snap his neck so easily. With that, of course, you really do feel the emotion of Superman having to actually purposely take someone's life. Yes, I mean, and of course, that shows off a little more realism to real life, because every day, yes, we do lose people in the fight against some crime and war and all of that. However, of course, that sometimes it's only done because they're not given a choice. Sometimes. Because on the battlefield, it's either kill or be killed. Sure, the people who does everything wrong with whatever movie, yes, they said that probably he could have just snapped Zod's spine, that way he would be unable to do things, however he could still fly. Yes, he could have gouged out his eyes, however he'd still be able to punch and shit. So, I saw an inevitability of death, and I personally am okay with that. Now, my final verdict on the Man of Steel. I would say a buy if you are a fan of superhero movies and, of course, alien action. And you get to see a modern Superman, and rather than having like a few made-up powers here and there, like he did in the original Superman series or original live-action Superman. The movie shows a little bit of realism. It is very creative. It shows a little bit of a dark side, and it's seemingly feasible. A very good performance. Plenty of enough character development for, well, okay, I'll just say, okay, maybe not too much character development, except for like 1 or 2 characters, but still. Downside of the movie, of course, is if you're looking for a Superman movie that was just like before, where there was no killing, well, then you're gonna have to, then you might not enjoy it if you're one who wants Superman to be like he was back in the 90s and beforehand, because this time around, what they're doing is trying to make it feasible and what would actually happen in real life, okay? I mean, if there was, like, because if Superman was around, there's definitely going to be a bunch of destruction and maybe a few possible deaths here and there because of the villain. That's my opinion on Man of Steel. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please join me next time for my next analysis. Analysis complete.